The northeast of Nigeria is a populous country of unending beauty. It has some of the finest landscapes in the country and possesses vast and richly fertile agricultural land supported by multiple river systems. Within this mix is its rich diversity. The character and economic conditions of this ethnic and cultural diversity is defined in the main by their environment. The northeast is a picture of rugged and hostile terrains in especially parts of Taraba, Adamawa and Borno states. As a consequence, hundreds of communities are hard to reach and alienated on matters of development. In parts of Yobe and Borno, invasive desert environment moves out scores of people and takes over their settlements. Nigeria's northeast is also emerging from the effects of over a decade of insurgency. It is an upheaval that created mass dislocation, loss of livelihoods and loved ones. Against the background of their peculiar situations, the 6 states in the northeast identify with the programs of the Community and Social Development Project (CSDP) as a workable pathway to addressing their challenges of poverty and social infrastructure. This program is a partnership between the federal government and the World Bank, and it is about building new natural resources and infrastructure or rehabilitating them. By design, the program targets poor and vulnerable communities in the northeast and adopts a simple paradigm, the principle of bottom-up approach to development initiatives.
The CSDP approach, which is centered on community-driven development, where the groups, the vulnerable groups and the poor people in the communities are the one who conceive of their need, and the resources development resources is put at their disposal, and they go ahead to use it to meet their development need. This is unique. It is unique, and that is the secret of the success of CSDP.
In the implementation of CSDP, the federal government seeks and obtains financial assistance from the World Bank and lends it to participating states. It does so through the Federal Project Support Unit (FPSU). In actual fact, the head of the Federal Project Support Unit is identified as the National Coordinator, Community and Social Development Project.
CSDP has a very organized structure, from the federal to the state to the local government and down to the community. And over 90% of our structure is institutionalized by law. We have legal backing. All our 30 participating state agencies are set up by law, passed by the State House of Assembly. So there is legislation and there is funding support also, both from the state government and then, as it is now, from the World Bank. At the local government level, we have our local government review committee. They are also backed by edits, by law set up by the local government.
CSDP in the northeast is an objective reality, a conspicuously live endeavor, the realization of dreams of many communities who hitherto believed it won't happen. The program intervenes in 8 sectors: water, health, education, and transportation, among many. Again, as far as the northeast is concerned, the very poor, the vulnerable, and the internally displaced persons are at the heart of the initiative. CSDP call any of their project in the northeast micro project. This because the maximum grant for any project is 10 million naira. Benefiting communities always pay 10% of approved grant or 5%. That is when dealing with the IDPs or vulnerable groups. Taraba State offers fresh perspective on the delivery of CSDP support projects. There was in particular the story of Sunkurum Gada, where CSDP in the state gave the community support in which they built their ever first primary school and a skill acquisition center. Sunkurum is a community of mountain dwellers. Nothing much about them was known until very recently. They are super hard to reach. It took our team 6 hours to reach on a motorcycle from a point in Sabangidan Duna. No crowd makes much success of a trip to Sunkurum other than motorcycles. There is no defined pathway to that place. Good judgment guides the trip. You go down a cliff in a second. By another, you are climbing up a steep hill. We had to cross rivers too. It is part of the challenges of going to Gada, that means Gada Community Development in Taraba State, that you have to cross river. It is a very rugged terrain like you have shown you, but then obviously it is more rugged when you know that you have to cross rivers and climb mountains and move almost 300 kilometers. Obviously, in the thick of rainy season, Sunkurum is cut out of the world. Not a single one of us wanted to cross any river on a motorcycle. Many took the water on foot. Several joined an old craft without a skilled pilot. Eventually, we arrived Sunkurum late evening. There was no school in session then, but the community took us around the 2 blocks of 2 classrooms each, which they built with assistance from the CSDP. They don't have graduates or secondary school leavers in this community, so when they heard about CSDP, naturally their priority was education.
We have a custom here that ladies are not allowed to go to school, and even children were not allowed to go to school. They go to farm for farming. But when the CSDP came in with a very good structure, which is first in history for a site of the communities, they are happy to send their children to school. So we are very happy with the CSDP. Though the enrollment is higher than the classrooms, but this has helped enough for the student to be comfortable.
How many communities are taking advantage of this structure?
We have 6 communities around this area that the children come all over to come and school here.
The CSDP grant allowed them to construct a skill acquisition center too, where tailoring, weaving and fashion classes are taught to hundreds of youths around the community.
Last year, 2019, we have graduated over 360 people who came and learned their handwork. And by the grace of God, this year we want to enroll more so that we can be able to be benefiting. And presently we have our tailors and other workers that are working there permanently that will be able to see that we sustain this project.
Our trip to Taraba was in the company of the National Coordinator of the Community and Social Development Project, CSDP, Dr. Abdulkarim Obaje. He was on the motorcycle trip to Sunkurum Gada. He was in the trip to all the project sites visited in Taraba. In Sabangari, Sardona local government area, the National Coordinator observed how using local technology, the people there built a reservoir to harness spring water from a mountain top to serve the overall water needs of the township on a sustainable basis. When harnessed, the water is transferred to a giant overhead tank uphill. Prior to the community receiving grant from the CSDP to set out this craft, which is their priority, this is the main channel through which they find water. They share it with their livestock. Cholera and typhoid fever were not uncommon. There is a central point built as part of the CSDP grant where all community can come and collect water from.
Any interested community member or household who feel they are going to connect this water to their area, they are free to do so. For the CSDP, this is a central fishing point for all the community. They should come and fish here.
Okay, so tell me, for how long have you been using the water and how helpful has it been to you?
Now we have used the water for the past 4 or 5 months because it started August. So it has helping the community. The community are happy, everybody, you see them. You see how they are happy now.
How was the water situation like before this intervention?
The water situation was, the water was dilapidated at that here, and now you see this is a very pure water here. The water is nice and it has helped them. Now there is not this type of malaria and typhoid like before.
Close by, the people of Masewa are celebrating a new bridge which they have longed for several years. For over 100 years, this wooden bridge links over 20 communities to the world outside. accident happens and the people are often shut out to the world.
When it rains, and it rains heavy here, passage can be very difficult. If it collapses, it means that there will be no social and business activities between those 20 communities.
This woman lost a son recently to this bridge. How she felt relieved that a replacement and more secure structure is now in place.
He came over to our site. Then when he was coming back, yes, and discovered that the bridge was halfway, yeah, taken away, yeah, by flood. Yeah. So as he attempted crossing the road now, he just fell into the river. As he fell now, he damaged the rib. And when he was taken to the hospital now, that is how his life ended up.
Now that this bridge has been replaced with another one, how do you feel?
Kai, I feel very much happy, because that's why we never knew that the government will remember us and come and do something good for us like this. Because there are so many people, many children going to school, even our businesses, all is across this side. All our going to church, going to mosque, going to the market, anywhere, office, we cross on the bridge and then we go. Sometimes this rain, when it rains and it is overflowed, we will not be able to cross.
Yeah, the process started when one woman, Madam Esther, came to my office weeping that there's a makeshift bridge in her community that is killing people. That people come in the process of crossing, they will fall into the bridge, into the ground, from the bridge, because it's made of woods, and sometimes they lost people in that bridge. So when I had a pathetic situation, I decided that okay, we come to the community in order to ask them of their need and then intervene. That was how we found ourselves in Masawa community.
The CSDP National Coordinator was in the trip to outreach with the major stakeholders to drum support for the program's concept of the people driving their development needs, and to hear on-field feedback on the implementation of the projects. He wants the stakeholders also to unite with the continuation of the project, which officially ends June. In Taraba, the coordinator visited the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, the Secretary to the State Government and the Deputy Governor. But there is no difference in their responses to what the project is doing differently in the state.
If there's anything anybody can say, is to say thank you, CSDP. Sincerely speaking, I am not saying this because you are here. I am saying this because there is no any nooks and crannies in this state you will go that you will not see a signpost that this project is being handled by CSDP. Taraba State government, as a government, we are beneficiaries of your programs. And this is one program that truly has touched the lives of the people from grassroots. Because I was talking with the GM sometime, I said, how can you, I mean, even imagining for you to give 1 million naira, for example, and they give you a project of 10 million. I mean, to me,